blog, we used to have like 12,000 reach per week or 13,000 reach per week, or it sometimes depends on the article.
To work as a journalist, you really have to subject yourself to censorship.
Whenever the government wants to silence some people who are actually asking critical questions, they come up with a wrong name for the act that these individuals were doing.
Zone 9 was founded in 2012, May, but before 2012 May we used to know each other online by different activities that we have.
The first time that we met was after the tragic incident on Alam Chasa. Then we tried to form a fundraising and a candlelight vigil. That helped us to meet one another in person.
Some of us has our own blog and some others has their own social media accounts, and we have been active on that.
Because all the efforts were scattered and it was not concentrated, and individual effort on different topics, if it's not concentrated, it's not on the target, just simply a waste of time. So decided to come up as a collective group, Zone 9.
We want our readers to come together because we feel like there had been different discussions online, but they are not coming together. So by bringing all those discussions together, by bringing our writings together in one place, we thought that we would encourage people to come in and discuss. So it was a kind of like, we were thinking a kind of online platform. So we know the social media very well and we wanted to use it, and we know how to use blogs very well, so we wanted to use that. But in general, we were thinking to just contribute for the public discourse, and we were also thinking to bring alternative narrative of the use, because there are different narratives. The government has its own narrative, and there are also other political parties, medias, or political party supporting medias, other own offline medias and print media. They do have their own narrative and way of contributing to the public discourse. So we were thinking it would be very nice if we can also contribute our own narrative for the public discourse, and specifically focusing on our own use narrative.
Acting as a group might help us to inspire one another and to make an impact, especially citizens in the young generation in our country. They are almost giving up in every opportunity they have, and they left the country fate to politicians. To most of us, Addis Nagar was our inspiration. After the end of Addis Nagar, there was a lack of political discourse in our community. Then we tried by using the platform on the social media to fill that gap, and it was successful.
Journalism has always been a profession that has been challenged. It has not been easy since the beginning, especially after the 2005 election. Things have been very strict and the space had been very narrow. The online media has been recently, it was getting popular recently. It's a new media platform for Ethiopia. What makes Zone 9ers unique is that they used the new platform to write. They promoted citizenship journalism.
I have been following Zone 9 bloggers, I think, since their appearance in the social media. I think there are two roles they have played. One is that they try to cover they try to be a citizen journalist who in reporting or in documenting human rights abuses, in demanding some basic rights. And these are some sort of citizens' rights, citizen journalism. And their second role is to create and disseminate knowledge. And these two roles, I think, defines the online roles in Ethiopian media. They were already the voice for their own generation and to the general public.
Early days of the blog, we used to have like 12,000 reach per week or 13,000 reach per week, or it sometimes depends on the article. If there's a popular article, it might go about that. But at the time of campaign, it really goes to very up to the higher level.
We had 4 campaigns. 3 of the campaigns were concentrated on the constitution, but the 4th one is different. It is the Ethiopian dream.
So we started the first campaign, Respect the Constitution. The objective was like to remind the government that everybody should respect the constitution, which includes government, other stakeholders, citizens, and also other political actors. And then we did the freedom of expression now campaign. It basically focused on censorship, self-censorship, the administrative problems for freedom of expression, and what we are facing through. I mean, we all self-censor because we fear that something is going to happen to people after expressing their opinion. So we talked about that. It was also one of successful campaigns.
The 3rd one is the right of assembly and the freedom to protest. After 2005 election, there was no protests in the country. So after we complete our online campaign, after a week, the Blue Party, they organized the first protest after 2005 election.
So the first one was the Ethiopian Dream campaign. We didn't want it. The objective was in general to talk about dreaming for Ethiopia. It doesn't have to be any political. I mean, from any political group, whether you are supporting the government or whether you are critical of the government, you can still dream for the country. That was the objective. So we did Ethiopian Dream campaign. According to the number of reach, it was a good campaign that it reached so many people. So in general, the objective of the campaigns was to give awareness, to provoke discussions about different issues, and also to kind of create a common sense and understanding between the online community in some critical issues of the country.
I think that was the moment they considered us the enemy of the ruling elite.
I think it was very serious at the time when we did the Ethiopian Dream campaign. Like, we started listening some things that our friends had been approached, asking questions about us, and the questions were like, what's their objective, what are they up to, and who's supporting them, or who's giving them some support. And for some of our friends, they were telling them like, we've been supported by political parties, and for some others, they were just asking them if there is any background force which is helping us to do this online campaigning. We somehow quit the activism for a while. I mean, it's not quitting, but we were thinking of slowing it down for a while and trying to talk on some social issues and to minimize the critics on the government so that they would understand we were afraid. But they didn't. Therefore, we have discussed, as I said earlier, our activism and activeness was a problem, but at the same time, our silence and trying to talk about social issues was also a problem. Therefore, we returned back to our main activism on April, but we tried. The arrest was not a surprise. It was not a surprise, but it was a shock.
Online bloggers are arrested, and I was shocked, and I couldn't believe this because I heard Bafkad's voice just a couple of hours ago, and we planned to meet on Saturdays.
A big surprise. First of all, the arrest of the Zone 9 bloggers was unexpected. Journalists have been professional journalists for a longer period of time, and they had been in the profession. They had been writing, they had been attending different press events. Their faces had been around for some time. But the Zone 9 bloggers, they came 2+ years ago. So associating them together and charging them together was a big surprise for me. Actually, I would say it was a big shock for me. Tesfalem was my very best friend. We have been friends for 10 years since we both came into the media sector. I would say he mentored me in the profession. He is the most ethical, the most principled, and the most professional journalist I've ever known in the country, I would say. He always had this passion for his work. He never cared for anything. All his time, all his money, all his energy was dedicated to what he does. He would rather spend his time in the newsroom and on his work than elsewhere. So, and he even never mixed his opinion with what he does. What he does is always based on facts. He would even criticize other colleagues when he sees them mixing opinions. He would never take a side or be involved in any third party and jeopardize his profession. So Tesfalem was never a criminal. Tesfalem was never a terrorist. He's just a journalist, and he's only a victim. Also, the other journalists, they have good reputations. They have been writing to newspapers. Edom has been working for a government newspapers, for that matter. So, knowing all this background of the journalists, it's difficult for me to accept that they even have to face such kind of charge.
The charges are very much serious. It was incitement and terrorism, so it can go from 15 years in prison to life in prison. So the charges are very, very serious.
I believe that the charges are politically motivated.
From a pure legal perspective, there is no evidence on them, and there was no single evidence presented as a witness.
So it took them 87 days, I think, to come up with the charges.
Whenever the government wants to silence some people who are actually asking critical questions, they come up with a wrong name for the act that these individuals were doing.
They were forced to confess against themselves. They were tortured.
The government did not have any evidence that shows that these individuals were involved in promoting uprising. Rather, they were trying to educate people, and educating people is not a crime.
So it's very painful, and it's difficult for me to accept that these journalists were associated in such kind of crime. Also, I also know the bloggers personally, and I have seen their writings online. I have seen them spending most of their time behind computers, just discussing issues or writing whatever felt was right for their country. So seeing these young, very young citizens who were just concerned for their country, charged with such a very serious and very serious terrorism charge is also another difficult and painful thing to accept.
But on the judicial process, there is nothing to hope for. In the first place, they should not be charged, they should not be arrested.
It's really difficult to tell what would happen on the trial process. So far, it was really disappointing.
Yeah, we are not hoping anything to be changed all of a sudden because we know our government situation. So before the courts, they already decided that we are terrorists. So we are expecting that after the election there will be some political involvement to release our friends.
I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear for the whole wide world.